All right, I got Dr. Nayan Patel on the show today. He's a pharmacist, wellness expert, the author of the Glutathione Revolution, Fight Disease, Slow Aging, and Increase Energy. And he's also the founder of Auro Wellness. Dr. Patel, welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, thank you for having me today.
Man, super excited to jump in and just dive into this magical master antioxidant, glutathione, that I was just telling you that I learned about 10 plus years ago from Dave Asprey. I remember he used to sell it in this liposomal form, and I didn't know anything about it. I mean, he was the first guy that I ever, when I got into the health and wellness space, that was talking about why it's so important and why we need it. And I would take it here and there, but I didn't know much about it other than it was this master antioxidant. But you have done a deep dive. How did you get started in what made you so fascinated about glutathione in your training or your experience that you realized this is a really magical thing and we need to, you actually created a product because in a company to give people more glutathione. And so clearly you're seeing a huge need.
Oh, absolutely. And the need did not start like 10, 15 years ago. It was actually 30 years ago.
Wow.
When I first got out of pharmacy school, as a pharmacist, I was set to help the people in the world with my medications and all whatnot. And I realized that the medications that we have in our medicine chest were actually not solving any problems. All they were doing is managing people's problem. If you remember 1996, the FDA came out and said, all you can do is manage things. You cannot cure anything. The word the cure needs to be uh, regarded as sacred, and it's only available to drugs that actually do something, right? And
Yeah.
so the word cure basically came out of medical literature completely. The disease management came into place, and that's what we did. And so I said, wait a second. I went through 8 years of schooling. I graduated. Now I'm here, and all I'm going to do is manage people's problems and not solve any problems. I said, that's not a deal,
Yeah.
right? And so I said, okay, well, I still had bills to pay. I had I had things to do. So I said, I'll work in the pharmacy, no doubt about it. I could down into the company pharmacy, and then starting doing customized medications. And of course, the consumer starts asking me, I say, do you have anything better? Do you have anything better? And so in my research, I figured out that if I can make one impact on overall health and wellness for every human being combined, what would that be? And I thought it was going to be vitamin C. I did not know that vitamin C is not made by humans. I mean, they don't teach you this in pharmacy school. What they
Really?
told me was it was glutathione. I said, what about glutathione? I said, well, that's the master antioxidant, that's the master detoxifier. It's the most abundant molecule produced in human body. It's made of three amino acids coming together as a small little peptide. And all these words were kind of jumble in my brain. I said, what does that mean with anything? Because we didn't teach any of those things in pharmacy school to us. I said, okay, if that's the case, I'm a pharmacist. I think I'm relatively decently educated. That I can figure out how to get into the system. So 1999, we were actually one of the very, very first few people in the world that was actually using liposome technology to produce glutathione.
Wow.
So we made the first liposome technology product in 1999, and 2 years later, it came to a halt because it was not getting the results I was looking for. It did not satisfy my needs. I said, okay, this is not good. This is not working.
Why
It's
wasn't it getting the results? Just curious. What was one of the big things that you learned from that
well,
process? Because
it was working on some person. It doesn't work on everybody. And we were taught that in medicine, that's the way it works. It doesn't work on everybody. I said, no, we're not doing medicine. We're doing autologous, which is our own human body's enhancement of our molecule, which is glutathione. It should work on everybody. It should not be working on just somebody and not on everybody. So I
yeah.
was not happy with the results I was getting. So I said, you know what? I'll make the intravenous form of glutathione. That's okay. I'll just make my own IV form, right? So we started actually 2001 is when we started making first IV drugs for glutathione. Even though the research was done 10 years before that, in 1991, it told us that by giving intravenous push, the glutathione was actually only staying in the plasma, was never entering the blood cells. And the plasma gets filtered by the kidneys every 5 to 15 minutes. And by 15 minutes, all the glutathione is in the urine. And so there you go. All the glutathione is gone. So my thing was, okay, you know what? If I give big enough dose, high enough dose, it's going to get to the body for 15 minutes, and hopefully people that need it will take it up. I said, you know what? It doesn't work that way either, right? It's like when they say that you can lead the horse, but you can make them drink.
Yeah.
You can give the water to the whole body, or the glutathione to the whole body, but the body doesn't take it, then it's useless. And so, but at that time, around that time, we were working with some groups out of Las Vegas, I said, oh, we only need 15 minutes because we want to get people's hangover off us, right? So I said, okay, well, you need glutathione for that? I said, absolutely. They started selling glutathione for this hangover pushes in Vegas, and there you go. I got my funding, right. I made some money doing so, but I used that money to say there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to do that part. And so again, I had a daytime job. I was working on that job, and I recruited a PhD from USC Keck School of Medicine. He was my research partner. I said, hey, come on down. We got plenty of money. Don't worry about it. I said I had no money at that time, right? But I said, yeah, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And he's with me still for 25 years now. He's still with me today.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we started this journey. I said, okay, you know the proteins, I know the pharmaceutics. Let's work together and let's figure out how can we get this small peptide into the body. And he goes, that's very hard. I said, well, that's why we are here, right? Let's do it together.
Yeah.
So anyways, so around that time, there was a brand new technology that was never been used in any pharmaceuticals, any nutraceuticals whatsoever, using dextrins. And so we use the technology to actually stabilize the glutathione for the first time. And once we stabilize the glutathione, say, okay, now we have a stable molecule in my lab. Now we can work on it, and we try to figure out how to get inside your body and inside your cells and every single thing. So we had to find out. We had to go through two different barriers. Skin is a physical barrier because the size matters, and then the cells is a chemical barrier because it's a lock and key mechanism, right? The body only takes it what it needs, and everything else you don't need it. And so I had to get to the physical barrier first through the glutathione. I twisted the molecule into small particle size. So without breaking the peptide bonds, I had to break it down to such a small particle that gets into your skin. So that was like, wow, that's really, really good. I was so excited about that time as a pharmacist, because we always learn with physical things all the time.
Yeah.
The bigger barrier was a chemical barrier, how to get through the cell walls. And so apparently there's a different types of dextrins, that is sugar molecules, that the cell loves sugar. It uses for energy. The only downside is that I can't just give sugar because others give diabetes. So I had to
Right.
find a non-toxic sugar, completely inert, that doesn't do anything to the glucose levels, doesn't get metabolized to producing ATP at all, but yet it's porous enough for me to stuff glutathione inside. So
Wow.
we found a molecule. We already had figured out to reduce the particle size. We were able to stuff it in. It's like eating chocolate and eating M&M for chocolate, but inside there's a peanut. Now you don't spin the peanut out, do you? Use you know what? It's still good for me. It's still a little protein. I can use it up. And so that's what people. That's what the cell did. We delivered the dextrins. Inside was glutathione, but body goes, I'd rather make it myself. But you know, it's already ready to use it. I'll use it up. And so that was 2007.
Wow.
So now you can imagine my brain just going poof, crazy at this time. I said, now what? Right? At that time, it was too good to be true because there was no literature published, there was no articles published, there's nothing in the medical community that people know about this thing. So I said, okay, you know what? I have to do my own trials. I've been to for some pharma companies to see if they will fund it. They have zero interest in it, right? So I said, okay, fine. I was still making the intravenous glutathione, so all the money I made for 15 years, I put back into research and development of this
Wow.
molecule. In 2021, we released the product to the public because by that time I already knew how much to give you, how often to give you, how long can I give you, what are the potential side effects if there are any, are these safe to give to anybody like children and pregnancies and older people and diseased people and drug people and anything that do. I do so many different things and things like that I had to work on it for almost 14, 15 years. And I want to thank every physician that worked with me early on that believed in me, that say, hey, you know what? If you're making this product, I'm sure it's good. So I will help you with that one. So one patient here, one patient there. We have a bunch of doctors working with throughout the country, and voila. And the first thing I did was finish writing the book because otherwise, people are not going to get the information. So it took me some years to write the book. Once the book was ready, I released the book, and about that time, the pandemic hit. And people go,
Perfect timing, right?
yeah, we need the product. I said, oh, it's not ready yet. I said, you're never going to be ready. It's like the one they say, right? If the wheel is already ready, let's put it on the car, right? I said, no,
Yeah.
I think I can make it better color, make better variety. No, that's why my research brain was going on. I said, I can do better. I can do better. And I said, the doctors community says, no, you got to release the product today, right? So even
Wow.
with that, I didn't have the packaging ready. I had nothing ready. So I put it in a bottle, put a label, and started giving it to the doctor's offices and all those things. In 2021, we released a product at that time.
That's so amazing. Okay, and just to be clear, when we're talking about the product Auro Wellness, you make a transdermal glutathione, basically meaning you put this on your skin, you rub it in, right?
It's
And it
rubbing it. It's
absorbs.
topical form. Yeah, it's a topical form.
Yeah, I want to get into that, but I want to go back just a little backtrack on a couple of the things you just said that really piqued my interest.
Uh-huh.
Number one is liposomal glutathione. You said
Yes.
it doesn't get into the cell. Is that right?
Well, that's what I thought, and that because it was I wasn't getting the results. It wasn't until 2011 the University of Texas in Austin did a clinical trial with 26 kids, and they proved it that when you take liposomal glutathione by mouth or topically, either one, the body was actually breaking it down and into amino acids. And so what they saw was a rise in cysteine in the blood, but no rise in glutathione. And
Wow.
so it was my hunch at that time. I did not know that part, but in 2011 that was proved by clinical trial that that's actually what was happening. It was already proven on the IV side because intravenous form. Everything was getting to the urine by 5 to 15 minutes. It still worked a little bit because
Yeah.
what they saw like an hour and a half later was there was a rise of cysteine in the blood, and we didn't inject 16, we injected glutathione. So the researchers was concluding that it's mostly the cysteine that's getting reabsorbed, entering the blood cell, and the cell is using that to make its own glutathione.
Okay. So it's working a little bit, but in your opinion now, knowing everything that you know about glutathione, is liposomal just a complete waste of, is it just bullshit? Is it just a complete
It,
waste of trash, kind of?
one
Like,
thing is, it's if it's cheap, then it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't really matter. If it's expensive, then you're paying for something that may or may not work, right? And so there's always a cost issue, right? If you pay $60 for something that may or may not work versus 125 for something that will actually get absorbed in your body. And there's a big price difference. So people do want to wonder, say, hey, do you want to take a chance or not take a chance? But I'm telling you, if you're over the age of 30, 35-ish, then the thing is what you do not have is time. But because even though you think you're going to live to 80, 85, the issue is not about living longer. The issue is at early age, at the 30, 35 age, your body is actually breaking down. It doesn't get into disease state until 45 or 50 or 60, but it's already breaking down right now. And if you don't stop it today, you are going to get diseases at a later age, and which is not reversible. And so, to me, it's absolutely a game changer. It's a no brainer, in fact, that you should do something to improve those levels. Now, don't get me wrong. Average person, 80% of the people, they can produce enough glutathione for the rest of their life, which are without any problems whatsoever. They have no gene mutations whatsoever. They can take the amino acids and produce his own glutathione. If that's true, all you can do is put in a favorite search engines or AI robot, tell them that, hey, find me cysteine rich foods. It'll give you vegan choices, vegetarian choices, and carnivores and omnivores and paleos and Atkins. I don't care what diet you're on. It really doesn't matter. But he'll give you all those options of foods that you can eat within those categories and consume this food on a daily basis. You will get plenty of amino acids from this food, far more than any product will can give you. And by the way, you're going to eat the food anyway, so why spend the money on the supplements when you can get the same thing from the food?
yeah, huge. I love that advice. One other thing I wanted to ask you, you said you were noticing it couldn't get into the cells. It couldn't penetrate the cell walls. Why is that? Is it because the cells have an outer membrane that was due to just so much toxicity? It was like a hardened membrane, so things aren't getting in, or what was the reasoning? Was it just the delivery mechanism? It wasn't getting into the cells. Had nothing to do with the actual toxicity.
It doesn't do with toxicity. The cells are actually your human body is designed to produce all peptides internally, all of them, right? You're not supposed to take any peptides from outside sources and do the functions. Now, we take insulin shots on a daily basis. Insulin doesn't get absorbed. Insulin gets into your body, brings the sugar levels down, and it's out of the system, right? It doesn't. It's a signaling molecule, so to speak, does the work. But it's going to be arbitrary as to how good the levels are going to be based on how good you control the sugar levels. Anyways, uh, so now today people are talking about peptides all the time. This peptide, that peptide. This is for
Yeah.
pain. This is for stomach. This is for the hair. This is for. I mean, it's just nuts. They're all these peptides. If they are natural, that means that your body produces them. The body has to produce them internally. You can inject it, it's not going to get anywhere. So all the peptides that we are seeing in the marketplace today, that the drug companies are giving it to us, are called bioregulators. What it means is that it's telling your body to behave in a certain way. They're not produced internally. Internally producing peptides have to be produced inside your cell. So it has no mechanism built in to take peptides from outside sources, incorporate into your own into your own intracellular mitochondria or DNAs, and use it up. It's not built that way. The body's not built that way. So I knew that was going to be a hurdle for me, right? How do you get glutathione into the blood when you know that it doesn't get absorbed? So that was my thing. So I had to use a Trojan horse. I had to use a Trojan horse that to get it done. And now that I've done it, uh, I think in the next 10 years or so, I truly believe that there'll be a lot of companies out there trying to find different avenues to deliver nutrients where it's supposed to be. Because, America takes the highest number of vitamins in the world. And we're not even the top 20 healthiest country in the world. Top
Yeah.
20. Right? And so we're doing something wrong. We're doing something wrong. We are overusing our vitamins and not understanding the mechanism of how the body accepts it.
Yeah. Really cool. I want to talk about all the benefits and all these other things too, but I wanted to ask you this transdermal
Yep.
technology that you're using. I would imagine you could use this for a lot of it, like you just mentioned, other vitamins and nutrients too, right? I mean, this could be glutathione wouldn't be the only thing. I mean, I feel like you could do this, you could make a whole line of supplements that our body needs and nutrients, right? I mean, with this kind of technology, kind of like what you're talking about, is that something that we can expect to in the future, or is that would that make sense, or are all these nutrients or things like glutathione molecules like glutathione, are they, or is it just different, like you can't use transdermal application for everything, I guess?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about everything right now. So we do have certain molecules that we're working on right now. So we have able to do the same thing with a bunch of different chemicals right now. So ascorbic acid, which is your vitamin C, carnosine, which is a dipeptide, which is a two amino acid coming together. So we made that one. We're working on CoQ10 right now. We have to use resveratrol. Resveratrol is not autologously made, so we have to be very careful not to deliver molecules inside your cells, which is not supposed to be in the cells in the first place. So things like that. We are working on GHK, which is another peptide, the tripeptide. So yes and no. That we have working on some of the molecules that already been available in my skincare line, and some molecules we're still working on those right now as we speak. I would love to bring NAD to the market as well, which we do have an NAD product ready, but I'm not seeing uh, earth-shattering results, so to speak. Even though the levels are rising, it's not correlating into outcomes, and so I don't want to release a product that doesn't do much for my patients. And so yes, you're right. We can see a lot more products coming in the future in the marketplace, but there's some limitations to that as well because not everything can get into those bind. They have to be chemically bound to each other. If there's no binding molecule to each other, then it doesn't work. So we're still exploring. We're still exploring. We're just two scientists sitting in the back and just exploring different things right now. And hopefully we can recruit more people to come join us.
Yeah, I love that. I wanted to ask you, okay, and then for the transdermal application, do you just apply it anywhere in the skin, or have you noticed like applying it near the liver is a better area for absorption or into the body, or what have you noticed?
So we have done two trials. One was we applied it on your arms and your forearms, and the results were same as when you applied to the belly area. And there's a different fat content in both of them. That's when we realized that it's not about the where you apply it; it's just that it needs to get through your skin in the first place. Now, we do recommend you apply it to the non-hairy part of the body. And if you never use this product, you will know really fast why I said that, because the sugar molecules that we use is very sticky on your skin. And so the stickiness, it will go in about 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It takes about a little bit of time to make it go. So you keep on rubbing it in, rub until it's completely dry up. But the the molecule that is stuck to the hair may get stuck to your skin. It just becomes uncomfortable. It doesn't affect anything for the therapy whatsoever, but just uncomfortable, right? So even myself, I shave my arms because then I can apply on my arms every day. I apply my belly every day, and so I those are two things we use it. People use it in the face, people use it in the neck, people use it in the joints. So one thing that I would say my dad used to use on his joints all the time because he had arthritis in the knees for about 35, 40 years, and literally his pain was zero, and so that kind of helped him a lot. And he was walking 6 miles a day even at the age of 85, 89. He was walking 6 miles per day every day, with pain free, even though he had arthritis for 35, 40 years. So
Wow.
there's some proximity benefits of it too. I'm assuming if you have a little bit of inflammation, but again, that's just an assumption. But typically, you just apply any non-hairy part of the body.
Okay. Very cool. And then talk about just, some of the benefits of glutathione. I know you kind of told the hero story of why you became so fascinated with, like, if it was like this one thing that we could take, right? Like, what would be the one thing I would focus on? And you chose glutathione because you just saw so many of the benefits and some of the results. But, and what are some of those results? We talked earlier, it's the master antioxidant, but what are some of the things that, if people have never heard of glutathione, why should they be considering taking this potentially every day? And that's one of the questions I was going to ask you too, is, how often should we be taking it? But yeah, what are some of the benefits of glutathione in general that people may not be aware of?
Absolutely, and I answer the how often to take it as well afterwards as well. But the first part is that when you go look back into the history, we always say that what are the number one cause of death in the world? Not in the United States, in the world. How do people die every single day, right? So the top 10 causes of death, you have cancers and autoimmune conditions and metabolic disorders and heart attacks and blah, blah, blah. One of them is accidents. Let's take that out of the picture, right? Because accidents, there's nothing we can do. There's no pill for that one. So the other nine causes of death, every one of those diseases or the conditions that you can mention them is linked to oxidative stress. That means the stress that is produced internally inside your body from overexposure to oxygen and nitrogen. It is also increased by breathing oxygen and toxic air that your body cannot process it fast enough. When your chemical load builds up in your body, that the reaction that happens, or the reaction that does not happen in your body, produces all this oxygen species, which is very reactive. And those reactive species are actually causing damage to the body. And every diseases that link to those things is the why we people die. And so our body produces four things actually to deal with it. So the one is they produce three different enzymes. One is superoxide dismutase. It's called SOD by short. Other one is GPX or glutathione peroxidase. And the third one is catalase. So the three enzymes that body produces to deal with the oxidative stress, and one molecule which is glutathione. Okay, and so between those four things, glutathione is of course far more superior than anything else that the body produces to deal with oxidative stress. And if the levels are okay, then you have no stress. I mean, think about it. If you can drink like a fish when you're 21 years old, but the same kid at the age of 51 said, "Oh my God, I only had two drinks. Please take me home. Right? I can't
Yeah.
even drive." And and so things are changing as we age. So what's happening is that stress is increasing in your body, and the body's ability to detoxify you has decreased dramatically. And so if you can somehow increase the antioxidants in your system, and reduce oxidative stress down, there's a potential that you can literally be you can have the best health for longer periods of time and not getting to this damaged part when you can end up getting diseases. Now, the third thing what people will ask me is, what if I take some antioxidants over the counter? And I'll tell you, okay, I put them in three buckets. Bucket number one, all the antioxidants over the counter: vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, methylene blue, C60s. You can name the products. I take, I drink orange juice every single day, or I drink noni juice every day, or I drink this, I eat that. There's so much products out there. That's bucket number one. Bucket number two, I told you about the enzymes. That's bucket number two. And bucket number three is glutathione. If you combine the bucket number one and two, glutathione by itself is far more superior than the two buckets combined.
Really?
That's how powerful glutathione is.
Even things like you mentioned on that first bucket, methylene blue, carbon 60,
Yeah,
NAD, like those are all popular anti-aging things. But out of all of them, that's great stuff, but it's a lot of noise. Glutathione still outdoes
it
more than
still
any of them.
outperforms for the antioxidant benefits. For the antioxidant
Yeah.
benefits, absolutely outperforms all of those
But
companies.
again, but Dr. Patel, that's what I want. I want to live longer and age better and more gracefully. I
So
don't want
yeah,
to if I can take carbon 60 because I see all the benefits,
yeah.
right? Then I will do that. But you're telling me out of all of them, I don't care. Look at the studies. Look at like glutathione still takes the cake. Like then I would rather just spend my energy on that. That's why I'm asking. So yeah,
Well, that's the thing, right? When people say that, hey, what's the basic needs for a human being? It's a shelter and food. Without shelter and food, you can't go on vacation, right? You can go to vacation because it's a good thing to have fun and have mental clarity and all those things. But without food and shelter, you can't do any of those things. And that's the way I look at it. Is without water and glutathione in your body, you don't need anything else at this time. Of course, you need the foods and all those things. Again, foods, water, glutathione, by far, it supports the whole life for us. And so that's what I always say, that that's the building blocks, that's the cornerstone to reduce oxidative stress. But just because you reduce oxidative stress down, that doesn't mean the body's going to be healing from inside on its own. You still need the body to heal from inside because the body needs the nutrients to deal with this problem, right? The example I give you would be something like, uh, you come to your house, your hands are full of the groceries in there. So you open the door, you leave the door open, you put the groceries on the kitchen counter, and there's a wind comes in, and with the wind comes all the leaves and the dirt and the sand in your house. So quickly, what you do is say, "Oh my God, let's get the broom and the vacuum out and start cleaning the house." And the house never gets cleaned up because guess what? You never close the door. So the key is you got to close the door. You got to stop the oxidative stress first, right? But if you close the door, is the house going to get cleaned up by itself? No.
right,
So for that, you still need to clean the house. But if the door is closed, is it easier for you to clean the house?
right,
Absolutely, right? And so that's what we tell all the people, that if once you close the door, and if it doesn't clean the house by itself, you still need your body to clean the house from inside, right? So the body cleans the house and put a pile of dirt. Guess what? Who takes the dirt out of the house? You have to put it in a dustbin, right? The glutathione helps the liver take the dirt out as well.
And glutathione, Dr. Patel, from one of the big things that I have, what I understand from glutathione, which makes it so special, is that our bodies, there's the process of the liver where there's stage 1, 2, and some even say stage 3 detox of the liver, right? Of having to, and the body has to process these toxins and remove it. Well, the body naturally, through a lot of our food and everything that we get, and a lot of the multivitamins, for example, it can complete stage 1 detox of the liver, but it doesn't do stage 2. You need something special, but glutathione accomplishes that, right? Is that kind of also one of the big things you're talking about?
Absolutely. So there's stage one, stage two, stage three is just elimination through your intestines or your urine, right? So stage one is to finding the chemicals. So glutathione can help aid the liver, aid the enzymes to find the products. Phase two would be to conjugate, combine it, so somehow make it water soluble so you can pee it out, or somehow make it inactive so that way you can dump it in the intestines and get rid of it that way. Either way, the body has to process those chemicals out of your system. So glutathione absolutely aids in both of them. And so if you think about it, and again, these are the only two things that we know of as of today. So 140 years that we've known about glutathione, we've only identified two things that it does for us. Maybe the two major things, but I'm sure there's other things out there that we haven't even identified yet. And so now that we have the technology to actually improve the glutathione levels completely without getting broken down, uh, there may be more research coming out that can show other benefits as well. And so, and I am in the talks with other researchers right now, with universities, with NIH, funded trials. And so they are looking at different ways to see, hey, is this the magic molecule that we were searching for all these years? If it's true, then let's do some put this to the test right now. So until that happens, I cannot say anything about it at this time. But all I can tell you is that 15 years that has been in our hands. Well, it's more than 15 years, but 15 years since the first patient used it, which was my dad. Uh, the results that we have seen is nothing short of a miracle. And that's what I want people to experience, that part. I said, hey, is it one thing that can make a change in people's life? And if this is it, it's absolutely earth shattering, life changing molecule that you can have.
Yeah, I want to ask you on that note. I want to ask you about success stories and some of the things you're seeing. But also, before we do that, I wanted to ask you. I was just thinking, you had mentioned earlier in the podcast that 85% of people, they can make glutathione
Yep.
naturally and stuff, and that's great. But I would imagine from gene mutations, and I'm just thinking of all these things like glyphosate and all the things, these toxins. Like, I know, for example, glyphosate shuts down the body's sulfur detox pathway, and I think glutathione is like activates the NRF2 pathway. I'm actually not
Yeah.
sure,
Uh-huh.
but I'm assuming too, with in the toxic world that we live in, the EPA right now, if you go to their website, the Environmental Protection Agency says we're being bombarded by 86,000 man-made toxins every year. The
Mhm.
liver has to process these toxins.
That's
So
true.
I would imagine, I don't care if you're 85% of people in the world are doing okay, they can make glutathione. I'm still in your world. Are you thinking, it seems like you would still probably have to supplement with this anyways, just because of the environment and lifestyle that we live in as humans? Yeah or no? What's your thinking?
Joel, you are absolutely correct on that one. And the thing is, if you think about it, human beings are is the only animal that pollutes the world. Any other animals, they don't do anything. They don't even wear clothes, right? We do wear clothes. So most animals, they don't pollute the environment at all, except for human beings. And we build and overbuild the planet Earth, and there's a price to pay, not just to humans but also to the animals as well. And so you're right. The amount of chemical exposure that we have, it's not changed. It has not decreased. It has only increased over the years, and that's not going to change anytime soon either. Because honestly, we want to build more, and so that's not going to change either. So yes, the body can produce glutathione, but what's happening is that around about the age of 30, 35 in most human beings, the amount the body can produce and what your actual needs are, there's a slight discrepancy. For the very first time, your needs have actually exceeded what your body can produce. Right? If you can only work 24 hours in a day, but your needs are for 25 hours, well, there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Why don't we get one extra hour? It's not possible. And so that's what's happening when your needs are is increasing and the body's ability to produce glutathione is decreasing or staying the constant. There's a discrepancy that happens, and the discrepancy that when it first happens is actually leading to some sort of issues, right? And maybe temporarily, maybe permanent, but it's leading to some issues. And so my goal is to figure out at what age does it happen. I know for a fact around about the age of 40 and above, everybody has low glutathione levels. That we have already noticed that part. People that are between 30 to 30, 35 and 40 are the people that are extremely healthy. They have they don't consume alcohol. They do live in the city. So this is the persona that I have. They're exposed to a lot of toxins and chemicals in the environment, but otherwise they eat pretty healthy food. They're okay, right? Uh, 30 and above, these are the people that don't even drink alcohol. They are fine. They are extremely healthy human being, uh, and they should be okay as well. Under the age of 30, your body can produce enough glutathione to keep up with the demand because the demands are not very high because the body's not breaking down so much. The body's so resilient at this point. It's young. It's the chemical process is going so great. So overall, it's all good, right? So you're not breaking down so much. So you're okay. You're absolutely okay. And so I always suggest that if you're under the age of 30, please, please, please look at the diet. See if you can eat cysteine-rich foods and consume those on a daily basis. You have plenty of glutathione. And by the way, there's two things people have to do. One, to consume what's necessary to produce glutathione. But two, the more important part is do things that actually help reduce the consumption of glutathione. So, for example, if you got an environment, if you like sunbathing, well, sunbathing after 5 or 10 minutes is actually toxic to your body, right? And so that extra UV exposure is actually producing a lot of oxidative stress, and the body has to nullify that by producing more glutathione. If you consume solvents, now solvents are nasty things in the chemistry lab, but people consume solvents every single day. You know what? Give you an example. Alcohol. Alcohol is a solvent, right? In the chemistry
Hmm.
lab, it's nasty. In the real world, oh my God, right? It's the most amazing, tasty food that you can have as a drink.
Yeah.
But actually, alcohol is depleting glutathione levels to zero even with one drink.
Wow.
So yeah, these are the kind of things that, and again, as I said, when you're young, your body will rebound and produce it right away. But you're just uh, expecting too much from your body at a very early age, right? And
Yeah.
now, I mean, gosh, I mean, I am seeing people in the 20s with autoimmune conditions and diabetes and metabolic disorders and heart disease, and it's going to a point where it's, oh my God, where are we going at this point, right? And so those are the scary part. I'm not even putting those people in the equation because they started the journey at the age of 5 or 6 when they first ate the first food, solid food, and they've been eating like that food for 20 plus years, and now they have all these diseases at this point. I'm just talking about an otherwise healthy human being, right? You should be okay till 30. After 30, if it's me, if I had this product when I was 30, shoot, I would have been using it every single day, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have the products until I was 40 plus, right? So that's why I've been using since then. But even I did not believe in my own product early on because I was too busy researching that I forgot to take it myself.
Naturally. That usually
Yeah,
you see that
right.
happen.
But
Yeah.
my PhD that works with me, my researcher works with me, he's been using since day one, even today's date. Till to his age. He's 70 plus years old right now, and he still works with me. He still does research with me. We're still working together. He still is full of energy. Brain is pretty sharp, and so yeah, he drank the Kool Aid early on. I did not.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, so that makes sense then. I'm 42, so it sounds like this would be a wise supplement to be taking daily,
Yes.
for the rest of my life. And yeah, okay.
By the way, the glutathione gets recycled in your body. So if you're young, you can use it twice a day, every day for about 6 months to a year. And after that, even if you use it once a day, you should be able to keep up the levels high enough for you. You know,
Okay, cool.
once you hit 55, 60, you may have to go back to twice a day again. But if you're young, your body can literally, as long as you have no diseases and you have no conditions, no symptoms, you should be able to use it twice a day for about 6 months to a year, and then go back to once a day only, and you still be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick question, just because you're so well researched in this, I've seen, I know a lot of practitioners, they like the idea of taking glutathione precursors like NAC,
Yep.
N-acetylcysteine,
Yep.
popular one.
Yep.
Do you see that as viable too, or is it like, why would we give all the body these precursors or cofactors to make glutathione when we can just give the body, here is just one step, glutathione, just
I
take that?
know.
How do you, yeah, what do you think?
So if your body can produce enough glutathione on its own, precursors are an amazing thing, right? By the way, FDA has only approved one product ever to improve glutathione level, which is NAC. It's an FDA approved product available in the hospitals even today's date to improve glutathione levels. So it is approved. It is being used, and it does work in acute settings. But here's my issue: when your needs are so high, right? You're already working 24 hours in a day, but your needs are for 25 hours in a day. I cannot force you to work harder. Can you do your job 25 hours of job in 24 hours? Well, maybe if I work smarter, maybe, right? But keep in mind, the body has been working smarter every single day, adjusting based on what you eat, what you drink, what you see, what you feel. Everything. The body's constantly adjusting, right? And when the adjustment is done, and the body cannot adjust anymore, now the issue comes up. Okay, now this is all I can do, right? When people talk about diseases, when people get diabetes, oh, I'm pre-diabetes. I said, well, you know what? The body, you've been eating sugars, excess sugars for decades, and the body was initially was storing it in the fat cells, excess sugar, and using it up whenever it needs to. But then the storage ran out, and so it stored in it. It made the other organs fatty, like the liver and the heart and the kidneys and everything else, make them a little bit fatty, and store the sugars over there. And once everything stores are finished, that's when you get diabetes. And now there's nowhere to store the extra sugar, and so okay, boom, now it's in the bloodstream. Oh, I have diabetes. But really, you had diabetes 25 years ago when you first started eating too much sugar, right? And so the idea is the body's always adjusting and recalibrating for us, right? And so when I say the glutathione is the same thing, by the time your needs of glutathione increases, the body's already done readjusting, recalibrating. So don't get me wrong, I like the precursors for young people, great, amazing things can do, but for older people, they may not be the best option.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Amazing.
Another one more thing to make glutathione, we need multiple things. One is we need amino acids, which is NAC is one of them. We need two enzymes. We need two molecules of ATP and one ADP. If either one of those things is not in sufficient supply, your levels of glutathione will decrease. And so, just because you have enough of the amino acids, but you don't have enough enzymes or the energy to produce it, there you go, right? Well, if I give you a job for 24 hours, but you can only work for 8 hours a day because after that you get tired, well, you can only produce for 8 hours. So that's what
Right.
happens for the human body as well. The needs for glutathione is never changes, but our body's ability to produce glutathione decreases as we age.
Yeah. Makes sense. I wanted to ask you just success stories. You mentioned your dad and what are some of the other ones you're just seeing? I'm just curious, just through, testimonials or just people that are just chiming in and saying, man, you wouldn't believe that this happened.
Well, unfortunately, we have so many testimonials that we can't even publish that part because it sounds like a panacea. Oh my God, this thing cures every single thing. And anytime when the customer says that, hey, this thing has cured my problem, we don't publish them at all because there's no reason to publish those kinds of testimonials where it gives the false hope to people that it can cure any problems, right?
For sure.
But the book, if you read the book, The Glutathione Revolution, the book is all my success stories. All this, they're all in there. We had a lady, her daughter had autism, has spectrum disorder, autism. Hasn't slept for 7 years, and 15 days later, she slept for 6 hours the first night. And you should see the mom crying because it wasn't the daughter suffering; it was the mom's also suffering because if the daughter did not sleep for 7 years, neither did the mom.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that was heart wrenching for to see the mom's. She didn't just call me and tell me; she wrote a letter. She wrote a letter to me. I can see. I read the letter. I said, "Oh my gosh, she must be some professor because she was so nicely written." I have the whole story in my book as well because that was very profound to me. The best case I had was my uncle, my dad's younger brother, and of course, I was giving to my dad. Dad just takes everything anyway, so he's just his dad, right? He believes in
Yeah.
his too much. But he was always getting extra bottles from me, and I never asked him. He said, "Dad, oh sure, go ahead, take some more." But what he was doing was giving to his brother, and her brother was type 2 diabetes. And the reason he gave to his brother because his diabetes got under control very well, so he could eat whatever he wants to eat, and sugar levels never rose. And so he told his brother, "Say, hey, you should do the same thing too." His A1C levels was 14.1.
Whoa.
Yeah. The
Wow.
one
That's
that be
bad.
5.7 or low is normal, right? 6 point
Yeah.
above, you're diabetic, 7 point above,
Holy moly.
my God, you may be going coma pretty soon, right? It was
Yeah.
14.1. It was crazy, right? And so I started using the glutathione product. His 6 months later, he comes to see me in my house, and I saw him for the first time. I said, "Oh my God, you look so good. What happened?" Lost 40 pounds. His A1C level dropped to 5.4. His sugar was under control.
Wow.
And most importantly part, he was on three different types of insulin and three different medications down to one medication.
Wow.
From 6 pills to one pill. And the one pill that he was using was a combination pill. So it was probably two different medications in one pill, and that was it. So even today's date, this is at least 15 years out today, he's still under control.
Amazing. So cool. Man, I could talk to you about this for hours and hours on end, but I know you have to run pretty soon here to another interview. Um, Last but not least, just where can people, if they want to just kind of, obviously you have the book, we can go to Amazon and get that, but where can people learn more about just all your research, all the things you're up to? I don't know if you're on social media like Instagram or LinkedIn and all that kind of fun stuff, but like where, if people want to connect with you or just learn more about all this good stuff that you're doing, and then also please let them know Aura Wellness and where they can get this glutathione that you guys make.
Absolutely. So Oral Wellness is the it's a website, aurowellness.com. Um, we also have Oro Skincare for those ladies that want to use the same technology for your skin health, because it's just absolutely amazing. It's auroskincare.com. I do have a Insta page, which is at Oro Wellness, or at Oro Skincare, I believe so. Don't hold me for that. Uh, I I do spend time and resources on writing blogs, so please subscribe to the newsletter, because I do spend some time to make sure that the information is out there correctly. But if you're about the age of 30, 35, and you have any issues whatsoever, I strongly suggest you try it for 130 days. We do offer 100% money back guarantee. There's no questions asked. But I want you to see the benefits of it. And if you see the benefit of it instantaneously, it just tells me how toxic your body is. If you don't see any benefit of it, it's like, oh my, then nothing happened to me. The good thing is that you're perfectly clean right now. So it's like either way, you get a confirmation from me, right? Without a blood test. And if you don't want to, if you didn't get any results, if you feel completely healthy, if you think it's a waste of time and money, we'll offer 100% money back guarantee. So no questions asked. But I truly believe that people are going to see benefits, especially if you have some conditions, some things that you think that I'm otherwise healthy. Why do I suffer from all these things?
Yeah, love that. One last thing, actually, I didn't ask you. If you go to Auro Wellness and you see, there's a couple of products. You guys have two products that I see. One is the Glutaril, and then they have the Glutaril Plus. Could you just really quickly tell us like what's the big difference? And if I'm like looking at these, why would I want to choose one or the other? Obviously, there's a cost difference, but I'm also I want the benefits. So like I'll
Totally.
pay more money, for my family and me if I know it's worth it. But yeah, if anybody's looking and they may not know, what are the big differences between the two?
So it's just a concentration difference. All my clinical trials I've done, everything that I've done is on glutaril, the regular version. The plus was just stronger version, because you know what? Once we started, people start seeing benefits with the glutathione. Uh, the doctor said, started treating a lot of people. They have a lot of chronic conditions for decades, and so they're urging me to make a stronger version. And so we released a stronger version a year later. So 2021 is when we launched the Glitteril. 2022 is when we launched the Plus version, and because people wanted something stronger. So if you're otherwise healthy, the regular version is good enough for you. If you're very sick and if you want to try the Plus version, I would suggest you use the regular version first. Make sure there is no problems, no conditions, no issues with it, and then switch to the stronger version for about a few months, right? Maybe 3 months, 6 months. If you have liver issues, maybe a year. After that, you have to go back to the regular version, because that's all you need. Uh, if buying more is not better, right? Having the
Yeah,
right amount, because uh, more means the body has to process more glutathione on a daily basis. The right amount is body can use it up, and that's it. And so I would always suggest that you use the right amount that your body needs, and never overdo anything.
gotcha. That makes so much sense. Love that. Man, amazing stuff. Dr. Nayan Patel from Auro Wellness, and the author of the Glutathione Revolution. And man, so appreciative of you. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing this knowledge with us. Man, can't wait to have you on again.
Thank you very much for having me today.